Welcome to the next episode of the Ecom Growth Show. I'm the host, Danan Coleman, founder of Ecom Triage, co-founder of Catalog Defender. And with me, I've got a friend of mine. His name is Ben Leonard. He's got a hell of a story to tell us. He's a seller. He's built a brand from nothing, scaled it from nothing to everything, sold it. It's been crashed into the ground. We're going to talk all about it. Ben, welcome to the show, buddy. Thanks for coming.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me, Danan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good. I don't even know my own name or pronounce it properly. Actually, depending on where you are in the world, I answer to all of the pronunciations of my name because it's pronounced differently in different places of the world. You can call me
It's funny.
Dan.
My business partner is called Sean, but it's the Scottish spelling, so it's Sean. And whenever we're on a call from anyone who's not from sort of the US or the UK, they're always like, "Hi, Sean." And he's like,
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's funny. I have quite a few friends named Sean, and I think there's SHAUN, SHAWN, SEAN, and I can think of
yeah,
four.
that's plenty to be getting on with.
Yeah.
My parents were very kind when they named me Ben.
Yeah. I see. If my name was Sean, I think I'd spell it CHAUGHN, and just to like really screw
Really annoy people.
Sean, like Sean. All right. Well, let's.
Welcome to the Linguistics Podcast.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. That's perfect. So we're gonna keep this to around 20 minutes, and I'm gonna just rapid fire questions for you. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
All right, sweet. So let's start off with, how did you get started in e-commerce?
Sure. A bit of an accident. Like everyone else where I live in Northeast Scotland, I worked in the oil industry. Only I was the token dolphin hugger. My job was to help the oil regulator set the rules. And generally, I enjoyed my job. I worked with a consultancy firm. But I got really sick with a heart condition. I got signed off from work for 6 or 9 months and had to take a whole cocktail of drugs. And it was at that time that I started my ecom brand really as a hobby. I'd actually had the idea probably 4 years earlier while doing nothing. And I did nothing about it because I sort of subconsciously believed that entrepreneurship was for other people with a business degree or the background in product design, or they were handed down the family business or something. And the idea was to start a strength and conditioning brand because that's what I'm into. But it wasn't until I got really sick that I actually, got off my ass and did something about it. And so I came into it very much from the point of view as I'm going to start a strength and conditioning brand rather than I want to start an online business to make money or I want to sell on Amazon. I didn't actually know you could sell on Amazon at the time.
Yeah.
And that's
what
how
year
I stumbled
is
in.
this?
I kind of got my ass in gear at the end of 2015 and I was selling by summer 2016.
Cool. Yeah. So I have a somewhat similar story, except for the fact that I didn't start a conditioning brand. I stayed on the couch.
I don't blame you. much less hard work.
Well, yeah. So I got hit by a school bus back in 2010 on my motorcycle and had to be airlifted out, and that actually is my origin story into Amazon. Is I was incapacitated. I was actually, first off, I was laid up. I was just in a hospital bed. And then when I could get out of the hospital, I was in a bed still. But, I could get to a wheelchair, and then my wife would cart me around and I'd yell at people like, "Hey." And so it took me about a year before I could properly walk again. Like I had to retrain how to walk and stuff like that. But I've done all manner of weightlifting and well, for like a couple months at a time. But I always re-injured myself because I am muscularly more strong than I can structurally hold due to all the injuries and stuff like that. And I couldn't fit. It took me forever to figure that out. And but I went into we've been selling nutrition on Amazon for 15 years. So that was actually, we started selling supplements because I've always been in a healthy family. But yeah, so we went the supplement route, and you went the strength and conditioning route. So in a way, we're similar in that, except we tried to fix me through vitamins and stuff like that instead of drugs. So I've also been on a host of cocktails, and
Yeah.
that was really like hated that period of my life. I had to, when I first got out of the hospital, I had to have an alarm to go off every 2 hours to pop a pill. Otherwise, the
Wow.
pain would wake me up, and and then the pill wouldn't work because I was in such pain, you know? It's kind of funny. Now, though, I'm actually at the gym. I've hired a personal trainer to try to fix
Cool.
me because
That's awesome.
sitting on my ass all day, for some reason, you don't get stronger and better just sitting on your ass. I
Sitting
don't get it.
down. Yeah. No, we're not really designed to sit too much, I don't think.
No, no, definitely not. But yeah, okay, cool. Well, that's awesome, man. I didn't actually realize that you had like a physical condition that led you and put you down your path. The exact same thing happened to me. It was different circumstances, but
Yeah, I mean, at the time, obviously, I'm sure you'll agree, you didn't you didn't want to get hit by a bus. I didn't want to have a heart thing. But well, speaking for myself, in a funny old way, I'm sort of glad it happened because if it hadn't, I probably would still just be working for the man.
yeah, that's the exact. I say the same thing. Th- I would not be an entrepreneur today if I had not been run over.
Yeah, funny how life turns out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to go on to my next question. That's a nice little history about nice trip down memory lane for both of us, huh? All right, here's the next question. What is different about your approach that sets you apart? And we're specifically talking about e-commerce here.
Yeah, sure. Well, the main sales channel for my first brand, which was a strength and conditioning brand, like I said, called BeastGear, was Amazon. We were also on our own website. And what allowed us to beat all the competition and eventually why we were acquired, we were the first European brand to be bought in that wave of aggregators that emerged in 2019. What set us apart was we looked and felt and behaved like a legit consumer products brand, whereas everyone else was just turning on Amazon and PPC and praying. They were just selling stuff on Amazon. We were acting like a real brand. And I think the reason for that was I never came into it to be an Amazon seller. I came in it to start a strength and conditioning brand. It was only whilst I was actually researching my first product, or well, developing the first product, that I found out you could sell on Amazon. So I found out from a Reddit thread that normal people like us could sell on Amazon. Prior to that, I thought that when you bought something on Amazon, you were buying it from Jeff.
Yeah,
I didn't
same here.
know that there were third-party sellers.
Yeah,
And so when I found out I could just like send the stuff to them and then somebody clicks buy and then they send it. I was like, well, this is amazing.
yeah,
Of
yes,
course, we needed our own website too. We needed to interact with our customers on social media. We needed to email our customers. We needed to create content. And so that's how we won. And that's one of the big things I do these days with my brands and the people I work with is help them to escape what I call the Amazon Goldfish Bowl, where you're just stuck there praying that the Amazon gods keep sprinkling fish food into the top of the bowl and that the whole thing keeps working. You're also at the same time as
and
being
clean the
stuck in a
water.
goldfish. Yeah. And at the same time as being stuck in a goldfish bowl, you're also on a hamster wheel, right? So you're kind of like a goldfish hamster hybrid. You're a famster. Um, it's put more money into PVC, hope that it works. And that's it. Whereas if you actually just act like a legit brand, build a relationship with your customers, build an audience, think of your own favorite brands related to, your hobbies or your interests or your job or even the food products in your refrigerator. How do they behave? Do that. And so that's what that's why my approach is a bit different than what I would say most definitely Amazon sellers do anyway.
I like it. Yeah, and it's so funny. I was just on a call with somebody earlier today or yesterday, something like that, where we're talking about exactly the same thing. I it feels like there was like a little surge a few years ago, like, hey, you need to diversify. Everyone needs a Shopify site. It was about 5 years ago, something like that, right? Everyone needs Shopify. No, maybe it was about 7 years ago. Then about 5 years ago, everyone needs to be on Walmart. It's the next Star Trek, the next frontier, you know. And at that time, that was before. That's when you had to use Joe Lister to interface with their back end, and it
That's
was
right.
just absolutely atrocious. And And now I'm seeing a resurgence of you need to diversify off of Amazon. And what's really interesting is that at the same time, this is like the second surge that I think is happening on get off Amazon. Don't rely only in that one place. And I actually see Amazon taking strides to try to fix all the things, not all of them, to try to find out and fix the things that are wrong with how they treat us and what happens and stuff like that. It's such a strange thing because,
Yeah.
you know,
To an extent, they definitely are. Like in the last several years, of course, we all have branded storefronts now, which is great. There's incentives to get us to drive people to Amazon, brand referral bonus, things like that. Of course, now there's creator connections, although that's only in the US. But one of the things that I harp on about to people is, look, if you create content on, for example, TikTok and Instagram, or let's say take TikTok Shop, because that's a channel where you can make sales. If you open a TikTok Shop, you'll get more sales on Amazon.
Mhm.
Period. Like
Organically.
there is a halo effect.
Yep.
I've got clients now who we've opened TikTok Shop. It's going all right, but their Amazon sales are going incredible. And it's directly related to that. You can see the increase in branded search, the increase in sales on particular search terms in PPC. And it's the halo effect. I like to think that each of these different things needs to be part of one orchestra, right? They can't be disconnected. Your
Yeah,
email
nice.
marketing, your TikTok, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Meta ads, your Google ads, your Bing ads, what you're putting on YouTube, what you're putting in your blog, what you're sending in SMS marketing, and what's going on Amazon all need to kind of work together.
I agree. And so if you're just an Amazon brand, you're not going to be doing any of that. You're just going to be doing PPC.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's why they lose.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned this. This is so interesting how this ties over. I mentioned that I have an adventure channel, right? Well, I happen to also be sponsored by quite a few different companies. And so it's not just me, it's me and 3 other YouTube channels. And collectively, I don't know, maybe 100,000 on YouTube, something like that. 50, 60,000 in Facebook groups and stuff, roughly let's just call it easy 100,000. So collectively we have 100,000 followers. And so like there's a big brand, Midland, for instance.
Yeah.
Midland?
I mean, I know of them. I know who they are.
Yeah. So they're a sponsor of ours. And so they send us their radios and their speakers and stuff like that, and we do content for them. In fact, we actually did a full feature length video called Waypoint Unknown on YouTube just for Midland and another sponsor who unfortunately is no longer in the US. But like they know, these big companies, they know that they invest in these little people that have an audience. It's top of funnel brand, and it does drive traffic and
Yeah,
does
absolutely.
result in sales,
Absolutely.
but
And it's
completely untrackable.
and the funny thing is that it's actually more than it's not just top of funnel. I talk to people all the time and they say, yeah, but look, I don't have a budget for just, like brand awareness. I can't afford, I'm not
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. I can't just have
Yep.
billboards up all over the place.
Yep.
And I say to them, but it's different on social because, for a long time we had this analogy where we were saying, hey guys, e-commerce is not field of dreams. It's not if you build it, they will come. Like you have to tell people about it. But actually on social, and I would count YouTube in this too, if you build it, they will come. Because if you record a piece of content and throw it on, let's say, Instagram, the algorithm's very clever. Without you even telling it, it knows exactly what is in that content. And it's going to show it to a select group of people who it believes will want to watch it. And if they do want to watch it, which depends on whether your content is actually good, and I don't mean
It'll
good
keep showing
production,
you.
it can be terrible production, just decent, good, entertaining, and educational, engaging content, then they'll show it to more people. And over time, what's then going to happen? All those people who watch that video, the algorithm's going to say, oh, they like that. We'll show them more content from that same creator, but also other creators related, and also the brand that they tagged. So then over the next coming days and weeks, their feed is going to get filled with content, including your brand. And then they're going to hit, 5, 6, maybe 7 interactions, and something's going to trigger and they're going to go buy. So it is indirect. It's not direct sales, but it's also not just a brand awareness play. It's a
Yeah.
hybrid.
So word on the street is, the last time I checked into it, it takes 7 to 11 touches before somebody converts. So if you're to expand on that, you just said 7 times, right? So if you're only doing a couple of these things and you're only touching somebody on the avenues 3 times, it's probably not enough to get the actual conversion. You have to go into more places.
Yeah, I see people, they try to do product seeding and they say it's not working. And I'm like, give it 4 months at least. You know, imagine a year from now, you've been consistently creating content, getting your products out there, seeding it into creators, repurposing that into quality content, maybe putting some money behind some and running some ads, and your competitor's not. Who's going to be doing better 9 months or 12 months from now?
Yeah,
You know, it doesn't take a
absolutely.
genius to work it out. You just got to stick it out. Of course, yeah, there is a cost to that, but most times you can just give products to creators for free and not actually pay them until they've got an enormous audience. Because, you know, there's nothing a creator hates more than waking up in the morning wondering what to record. But if you've
Yeah.
just given them a package of products, then they're going to be delighted and they're going to very happily create content for you.
Yeah, that's actually a product that was a method that we used back in like 2013, 14, something like that. We launched a 3 product beauty brand called Aquila, and we used, at that time there was no TikTok. There was YouTube. That was it.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Um, and so we actually reached out to these young people that did makeup tutorials, and we just send it. And we had no way of tracking this stuff or anything, but we did
Yeah,
see a lift in our sales. And
definitely.
so there was no way for us to know for sure, but I mean, it was obvious at that time. We weren't even running ads. You didn't have to run ads. It wasn't pay to play back then, you know? So yeah, it's definitely, yeah, I am fully on board with you on this. And the problem, and I'm experiencing this now with my agency, right? The problem is how do you streamline this, right? If you are you know, Sally from Sally Soaps, how do you streamline all this without like burning out? That's
Well, in my view, you don't. You get the right people in to do it for you, because you know this is the thing. So many of us who own e-commerce business, we're small operations, 1 or 2 people, maybe with a few remote team members doing some customer service, some listing optimization, some Shopify stuff, etc. And they try to tackle everything head on themselves. But if you take a step back and say, okay, if I'm going to give myself permission to act like a real brand, that means I'm going to give myself permission to act like a real CEO. And then it's like, well, think of the CEO of your own favorite brand. Let's take an extreme example. Let's take Steve Jobs, right? Back when he was still with us.
never heard of
Was
them.
he doing was he doing product seeding? No, of course he wasn't, right? No, he was the visionary. He was taking the brand forward, and that's exactly what the mindset everyone needs to get themselves into. They need to understand enough about the process to know that whoever they give it to knows what they're doing. Then either hire internally or get the right agency partner to do it.
Yeah. I I think you just made a very, very critical point. For smaller brands, you need to know enough about what you're handing off to somebody else, so you're not at the mercy of whatever they
Yeah.
decide to do. You need to
Yep.
understand it well enough to manage it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the makes me think of another problem with our industry, which is this. There are so many, I've kissed so many frogs over the last 10 years. There are so many sort
You
of
like frog?
middleman agencies who are selling shovels the gold rush. They haven't really got a clue what on earth they're doing. And the
Yes.
problem is that their favorite customers are those who haven't got a clue what they're doing either, who don't know enough to know that they're doing a bad job.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody told me that there was about 3,500 agencies in the Amazon space, and
Yeah, that would not
and
surprise me.
yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. I refer to 3.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I refer to a handful, and the way I phrase it to people when I do it, I'm like, listen, you want to have a little selection so you can talk to a few.
Yeah, agreed.
Don't take my word for it. Talk to them all and see what you get the best feeling for. But I've filtered out all the other crap ones so you don't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually say the same thing. It's like I'll intro you to all 3, and you should interview them and see which one's right for you. Like, I'll never say that, "Hey, listen to my word." And, these agencies, I don't even have affiliates with them, this is just this is not an income generation source for me. This is I know the
What
people.
goes around comes around, you know? A rising tide raises all ships. That's kind of how I view it.
Yeah, unless you're sinking.
That's true.
All right, cool. I'm gonna go on to the next question here. What was your biggest mistake along the way in your career so far, given that you have plenty of time to make much worse mistakes?
Yeah, I know. Plenty of time. It could all go terribly downhill from here.
Yes.
Um, the biggest mistake I made was not doing something. So around about probably between 12 and 18 months before I sold the business, the first brand, I had the opportunity to expand to the US. And I chose not to. I decided to go be first into the Middle East and first into Australia.
Interesting.
And that was a very poor, naive rookie mistake. Had I gone to the US, I expect that for probably an extra 10% effort, my business would have been 5 times bigger. And not only would I have made a ton more money when I sold my business, it would have been a $30 million business rather than a $6 million business. In terms of revenue, by the way, not exit. Um, I would have had the clout that comes with saying I'm an 8-figure seller, a big 8-figure seller, rather than a 7-figure seller, despite not really being a better entrepreneur other than making that one better decision. Operationally, not much different if I'm being honest.
True.
Um,
Arguably more convenient.
yeah, and the clout that then comes after that of saying, how big of a business it was, how big of an exit it was, and all the doors that would have opened. So in hindsight, terrible mistake. And the lesson I've learned from that is, these days I think very carefully about which markets I go into.
And what are you taking into consideration when you're making that decision?
A number of factors. Obviously how big the market is, and therefore how big the opportunity is, but also how much more costly in terms of time and resources and money is it going to be to launch into that market? Do I want to go into that market now, or do I want to launch somewhere else and then go into that market? Let me give you an exact example that we've been through. I'm currently raising money for a new brand that I'm putting together. It's a baby carrier for dads. And we are close to securing all that we need to launch. Although I'm not going to launch until we have the money we need, because I want to have enough. I want to have a war chest. We've made the decision not to launch in the US. We were going to. Now, the final nail in the coffin for that decision was actually tariffs. So we're making the product in Vietnam. So the tariff is 10%. The duty on baby carriers into the US is 7%. That's 17%, which is fair whack. Whereas the UK and the EU both have a free trade agreement with Vietnam, which means there's no duty and no tariff. So instead, we're forecasting that we'll enter the US in year 4 or year 5, by which time we've got a ton of traction. Thanks to economies of scale, our COGS are down. We'll have a lot of cash. We'll be able to pull over reviews from all the different channels we're selling on Amazon, our own website, other marketplaces. We'll be in retail across the UK and Europe. And launching into the US at that point makes a heck of a lot of sense, especially when it comes to building for an exit soon thereafter. So that was quite a
Yeah,
long
because
answer, but hopefully that makes sense.
yeah, no, it makes perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense. Okay, and I can absolutely see that because it's cheaper to start up the way you're doing it than it is for the
Yeah.
US, not to mention competition.
Yeah, it's a smaller market, but there's way less competition. It's from an economic point of view, it makes a lot of sense. But also, there's something to be said for launching in your own market and just the comfort of being in your own market. Now, I know we live in a
I
small
agree.
world, and you're in the States right now, and I'm in the UK, and here we are talking like we're in the same room. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, it's still like an entire ocean away with a different economy, different rules, similar cultures, but
But really
it,
not.
but really not in many ways.
Yeah,
What a world we live in.
yeah,
And there's something to be said for the familiarity of launching in your own market first.
yeah. Makes sense. I agree with that because I did launch products in the UK, by the way, and it was not pleasant. Now, with that being said, it was over a decade ago. So this is like it was pre-Brexit, actually.
Well, those were the days. Oh,
Yeah,
I love those days.
yeah. So pre-Brexit, we launched and we just sent our inventory to the UK, and it just went all over Europe.
Man, yeah,
Yeah,
that was the dream. You know,
yeah,
I loved that. So I started in the UK, and Amazon kept phoning me up, "Hey, do Pan EU, Pan EU, do Pan EU." And I was like, eventually I said, "Okay, I'll give this thing a shot." Now, at this point, the bureaucracy was insane. I had to register for VAT in France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Poland, Czech Republic, Netherlands, and Sweden. And it wasn't like they had some one thing that would just do it for you. That all popped up later. I had to go around myself doing all of this. In fact, to get VAT registered in Spain, I had to visit the one guy in my city who was a registered notary, whatever that means, who could
uh-huh.
sign off. And this was hilarious. He had to stamp a document with like a medieval style wax seal.
Ooh, nice.
And all of my competitors could not be bothered to jump through all these hoops of bureaucracy. And
Did
so
you also did you
go
have
ahead.
to also get bank accounts in each one of those countries?
Yes, but I was able to find a solution for that. It was called Currencies Direct, which kind of made it reasonably simple.
Yeah, cool.
And all the documents had to be translated, but they could only be translated by a select group of people who appeared on a particular list. Bananas, right? And and so when I finally jumped through all these hoops, I basically doubled my sales overnight. Because
Wow.
I suddenly, all my inventory was across Europe. Hans in Munich could get my product next day instead of having
Yeah.
to wait 5 days for it to come from the UK.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My competitors could not be bothered to jump through these hoops. And it was the analogy I use is it's a bit like, imagine a caveman struggling up this mountain, this horrible rough terrain, coming over this rocky outcrop. It's been a real ball ache to get up there. No one else wants to do it. But on the other side is this lush valley of resources and fruit and food and things to eat and shelters to build that no one else has exploited, all because he went to the effort of going over that mountain, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah, I know it pisses off a lot of people when Amazon makes these changes, like, okay, you need to get inspected and stuff like that. But and it pisses me off too, to a degree, but it also builds a moat. I do firmly believe that the more that you restrict something, it can't be ridiculous, like a government, like, oh, okay, you've got that sign. Now you need to go over to this department. Oh, no, no, we don't work with that. That's this department. Oh, that department shut down 3 months ago. Can't be
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
nonsense.
you know? But if you put a barrier to entry, then your competition is less, but likely also more sophisticated. And so, like, if I launch, I don't know, a mouse for computers, there's 1,000 other mice that people can buy, and maybe a competitor slams me with negative reviews, and then my launch is over, you know? All right, cool. I'm gonna ask the last question, and then we're gonna wrap it up here. What's the biggest lesson you've taken forward from your previous experiences and applied into what you're doing now? And what is it?
Will I give you the lesson first and the story as to how I learned it first? Or do you want the story first?
It's up to you.
All right, I'll tell you the story. I was still working my day job. I hadn't quit my job yet. I probably could have quit by this point, but I was fairly risk averse back then.
Uh-huh.
And I arrived home into my little apartment, and there was a letter on the doormat, and it was in an official looking envelope. It was A4 size, and it had a German postmark on it. And I opened it up, and the letter was all in German, and I couldn't read it. But I could recognize attached to the letter a photograph of one of my products, a set of what I called beast grips. These were thick bar adapters, so they were like adapters that made barbells thicker and dumbbells, right? So more of a challenging exercise. And there was a photograph of my product and a photograph of the main competitor, which was a product which had been fairly basically had a monopoly on the market for a long, long time prior to me emerging, called Fat Grips. In bold letters in one part of the letter, I could read 50,000 euros. And I said, oh, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So I had it translated, and I spoke to my intellectual property attorney who I had worked with previously, and she had registered my designs of my beast grips. Now, in the UK, we don't have design patents. We have design registrations. They are the same thing.
Okay.
When we don't have design patents and utility patents, we have patents, which are utility patents, and
Okay.
design registrations.
Okay.
And I had design registrations right across Europe. And they alleged that I was infringing on their patent. And I wasn't. Now, the BS thing here, and this situation has been unchanged, Amazon still sucks in this regard, is they made this false claim to Amazon, and Amazon took my listings down.
Yeah.
Rather than just check, find out what the truth was, Amazon just said, "Oh, okay, they're infringing. We'll take them down."
Amazon doesn't do that. They shoot and don't ask questions.
It was absolute crazy. And the only way to get them to retract their claim was for they had to retract the claim. I couldn't just dispute it with Amazon. They had to
I
retract.
remember these days. Yeah.
So the only way to get them to retract their claim was to threaten them with court action. So we were able to demonstrate eventually that not only was I not infringing on their patent or their design registration, but here's where it got interesting. This big brand, this big organization, big Canadian organization, had actually bought the brand from a side hustle entrepreneur back in the day. Only he didn't learn the lesson that I had learned.
Uh-huh.
See, I learned before all this, when I had a bit of a scare with trademarks, I learned that cheap is expensive and expensive is cheap. In other words, it pays to get things right the first time. So I had hired excellent intellectual property attorneys to help me with my design registrations. He had not. And we were able to demonstrate that his patent drawings were so bad that they didn't even protect his own product. And so we said, you will retract your claim against Ben and you will go away, or we will take you to court and we will invalidate your patent, which will open you up to the entire market. So you play fair with Ben or you play fair with everybody. And they went away.
Yeah, nice.
But that cost me tens of thousands of pounds in lawyer fees.
Yep.
And possibly 6 figures in lost sales for the time that I was suspended. I tried to go after them. I got nothing. I never heard from them again. But the lesson was cheap is expensive and expensive is cheap.
Yep.
And I've never forgotten that.
Yeah. And aside from using the right patent lawyer and getting that stuff done right, there are also insurances for this sort of thing. Lost sales and stuff like that. So we are insured against things like that as well.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of insurance. People complain about insurance until they need it.
Yeah, exactly. And that'll never change. Like, I'll always complain about insurance. Like, this bullshit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ben, thank you so much for coming on the show, buddy. It's been a pleasure having you here. I know. Let's promote your newsletter. So
Sure.
I'll shortcut this. Ben has just bought back the brand that he was mentioning, BeastGear. He bought it back from the company that he sold it to. And we didn't talk about this, but they ran it into the ground. And he and I have done a little bit of a partnership on this, and he's got a newsletter. Ben, tell people where they can find your newsletter and find out more about you.
Yeah, sure. So, like Danan said, I sold the brand BeastGear to Thrasio. I can say it, it's public domain. They made me their poster boy for a period of time. And unfortunately, it didn't go well. I bought it back, and I'm turning it around. I'm documenting it on YouTube. I write about it in my... I fondly call it my not newsletter, because nobody needs another newsletter. There's plenty of good newsletters going around. I don't collate the news. I just kind of write what I think about Ecom and send it out every week. I write about it there. So if you go to brandrescuemission.com, the first episode of Brand Rescue Mission is there. We've got 5 episodes. There's more coming. I had to take a little break while I moved house. And when you sign up there, you'll start getting my emails. And most importantly, you can get a link on there to YouTube to watch all the episodes. I think that it's the kind of content our industry wants. People often are not very open about their brands. I'm very open about what I'm doing. And brandrescuemission.com.
Awesome, dude. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Well, good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so thank you very much for being on here. I think I should have that correctly.
There it is.
Yep, good. Brandrescuemission.com. Well, Ben, I guess I'll see you on the flippity flop, huh?
You will. Cheers. Thanks for having me, Danan.
All right. See you, buddy.
See ya.